She walked past me like I wasn't there, like I was furniture, or worse, like something she had to step around. I heard the click of her heels, slow, deliberate, crossing the kitchen tiles, the hallway, the front door. She didn't say goodbye. She didn't say anything. She just grabbed her coat, picked up her phone, glanced at her reflection in the mirror like she was posing for someone else, and left. Then the silence hit. That awful kind of silence that makes the refrigerator hum sound like a chainsaw. I stared at the door. I stared for hours. Not because I was waiting for her, but because I didn't know what else to do. I already knew where she went. I'd known for a week. I saw the messages. I saw the hotel booking. I saw the Uber receipt from 2 Fridays ago when she said she was visiting her sister. And you know what I did when I found all that? Nothing. I deleted the app. I cleaned the kitchen. I fed the dog. I sat on the edge of our bed and convinced myself I'd misunderstood. That maybe I was just insecure, paranoid, needy. She used to call me that, needy. Tonight was different, though. Not because of what she did, but because of what I did. She came back around midnight. I didn't hear the door open. I just saw the light flicker under the bedroom frame, and then her voice, too casual, too sweet. Hey, hope you didn't wait up. Wait up. Wait up for what? The man you lied to? The house you walked out of like it was temporary? I didn't say anything. I just lay still. My body faced the wall. My hands clenched the sheets. My voice stayed buried in my throat. And then she said the line, the one I'll never forget. I had a date. You're probably wondering if I'm going to lie about it, but I'm not. I had a date, and it was great. No dimos. No hesitation. Just those exact words. I finally sat up, not because I wanted to fight, but because I physically couldn't breathe lying down anymore. I turned to her and stared at the woman I used to know. The same woman who once cried during car commercials. Now she stood there, tossing her earrings onto the nightstand like none of this was a big deal. And then I said what I'd been holding back for days. I didn't yell. I didn't insult her. I didn't beg. I just said, next time, take your wedding ring off first. He left it in the glove compartment. And she froze. Just like that, her shoulders tightened, her mouth opened, but no sound came out. Because she knew exactly who he was. And she knew exactly what else I had found. But she didn't know how much I knew. Not yet. That night wasn't the end. It was just the start of something she wasn't ready for. She didn't move for a while. Not even a twitch. She just stood at the edge of our bedroom, one hand on the nightstand, her other clutching her phone so tightly I heard the plastic case crack. Her mouth opened a little, but nothing came out. I almost pitied her in that moment, almost. If I hadn't spent the last 2 weeks unraveling the version of my life I thought was real, I might have gotten up and hugged her. Asked if something was wrong. Try to fix it. But not now. Not anymore. Because I had heard the voicemail. The one she didn't know I'd heard. See, a few nights ago, after she went to bed early with her phone mysteriously dead, I went to the garage to look for a charger. I was the one who always kept spare cables everywhere, so I knew there'd be one in her car's glove box. I opened it, found it, and right next to it was her second phone. She never told me she had a second phone. It was cheap, one of those prepaid burner types. The kind people buy when they want to keep something hidden. It was unlocked. And I didn't mean to snoop. I swear. I just wanted to know if I was crazy. If the growing pit in my gut was just some emotional overreaction or something I could actually trust. There were no texts. No photos. Just one voicemail notification. One. I remember hesitating. My thumb hovered over the screen for at least 10 seconds. I wanted to believe this was all in my head. But curiosity is cruel, and so is truth. So I pressed play. His voice was the first thing I heard. Calm, confident, not young, maybe mid-40s. Definitely not some college fling or reckless one-time thing. His voice had weight, like it had been there a while, like he belonged to her. He said, hey, same hotel, same room, 7 o'clock. And this time, maybe wear that lipstick you used when we met, the dark one. You know I can't resist it. Don't worry about him. He still thinks you're working overtime. That sentence didn't just break me. It rewired me. Because the way he said don't worry about him, like I was some pathetic afterthought, some obstacle she'd managed to domesticate, it made everything about me feel small, weak, laughable. I didn't tell her I found the phone. I didn't confront her then. Instead, I placed it back exactly where I found it, and I did what I always do. I cleaned up the garage, swept the floor, took out the trash, like a good husband. And now, standing in our room, her frozen in place and me sitting on the bed with my palms sweating through my pajama pants, I could see it. The panic behind her eyes. The realization that something had slipped. You didn't know I saw it, did you? I said, quieter this time. The ring. She still didn't speak. Instead, she stepped back, one slow foot at a time, and sat down in the corner chair like her knees were giving out. Whose gloves are they? I asked. Still nothing. Was it him? I said. The man from the voicemail? The one who likes your lipstick? That one broke the silence. Not because she spoke, but because she laughed. Just once. A sharp, hollow laugh, like the sound of something snapping in half. You went through my stuff, Daryl, she finally said. You spied. You listened. And now what? You want me to say sorry? No, I didn't want sorry. I wanted answers. I wanted my reality back. I want to know when exactly I stopped being enough for her. She leaned back in the chair, stared at the ceiling, and whispered something I wish I'd never heard. You were never supposed to hear that message. But maybe it's better you did. That was the moment I realized she didn't plan on fixing anything. There would be no apologies. No explanations. Only more silence, more secrets, and more smiling nights that weren't meant for me. But she had no idea that I hadn't just heard the voicemail. I had recorded it, forwarded it, sent it somewhere safe. And I had a plan. Not revenge. Not yet. But something was coming. Something she wouldn't see coming. I didn't sleep after our last exchange. She dozed off almost immediately. Face to the wall, shoulders jerking now and then like she was chasing dreams that still excited her. I lay beside her counting the seconds between each of her breaths, wondering which one of them, him or me, filled her thoughts while she slept. At 4 a.m., I gave up on pretending the mattress was comfortable and wandered the house. Snickerdoodle trotted behind me, nails clicking on hardwood, tail confused. In the kitchen, the trash still smelled faintly of takeout pad thai, her favorite, yet I couldn't remember the last time we'd eaten it together. That tiny realization stung more than the voicemail had. It meant the betrayal had seeped into everyday things I'd stopped noticing. I opened the back door for air and saw a faint glow at the curb, our mailbox light. It switches on only when someone opens the flap. My heart slammed. No one should be delivering anything at that hour. I walked barefoot down the driveway, every cracked pebble a reminder that I was awake in a life I no longer recognized. Inside the box sat a thick manila envelope addressed to resident. No return label. No posti. Someone had slipped it there by hand. I carried it inside, peeled the flap, dumped the contents on the dining table, and my knees almost buckled. Photographs, maybe 30 of them. Grainy but clear enough. Lorna and that same tall, silver-haired man from my nightmare imagination. Walking into a downtown boutique hotel, sharing coffee in the lobby. Emerging hours later with her lipstick half gone and his tie askew. Different nights. Different outfits. Same room number glowing above them in every shot. Tucked among the photos was a printed invoice from a private investigation service. No name, just a phone number and a single line. Payment due upon confirmation of delivery. Was someone helping me? Or blackmailing her? Or both? I must have sat staring at those pictures for half an hour, the dog whining softly at my feet. Then my phone dinged. One new email from an address I didn't recognize. Truthsender@protonmail.com. Subject line, he's not who you think. Inside, just 4 words, check the return address. Return address? I flipped the envelope over. There, in tiny embossed letters I'd missed in the dark, were initials, CB. CB. My brain scrambled. Childhood friend? Co-worker? Then it hit me. Callahan Brooks, Lorna's boss, the regional director who'd promoted her last year. He was married. 2 kids. A country club family photo splashed across her company's website. So the PI file wasn't mine, it was his. Callahan had commission surveillance on his wife? No, on his employee. Or maybe on his own wife. Only to discover Lorna by accident? None of it made sense. I should have called Callahan right then. But I did what I always do. I panicked quietly. I gathered the photos back into the envelope, sealed it, and hid it under the guest room mattress like a terrified teenager hiding report cards. When the sun finally rose, Lorna shuffled into the kitchen in an oversized hoodie, acting like nothing had happened. She poured coffee, humming an old Taylor Swift song as if last night's confession was a rerun neither of us needed to discuss. I clear my throat. You ever get emails from your boss this early? She froze mid-sip. Why would you ask that? No reason. My voice cracked. Betray me again. Just thought maybe he's checking in. She set the mug down too gently. Careful, calculated. Daryl, don't start with weird questions. Not today. Not today. As though tomorrow would be more convenient for betrayal check-ins. I almost blurted out everything. The gloves, the voicemail, the photos, but something in her eyes stopped me. It wasn't fear, it was certainty. She had already decided how this chapter ended, and I was an extra waiting for the director to yell cut. So I tried a different tack. I asked to borrow her car for a tire rotation, an errand I didn't need, but which gave me a reason to leave with the burner phone still hidden in the glove box. She tossed me the keys without hesitation, trusting because she believed I was too weak to weaponize anything I found. At the garage, I didn't ask for service. I parked in the far corner and scrolled through the burner again, this time diving deeper. A hidden folder popped up after 3 rapid taps on the screen corner. Tech trick I'd learned from a YouTube hacking channel. Inside were voice memos. So many voice memos. The latest one chilled me. Lorna speaking softly. I'll tell him tonight. He'll fold like he always does. By the weekend, we can move forward. Love you. A pause, then her laughing. A laugh I hadn't heard from her in years. I sat in that car until noon, engine off, sun baking the dashboard, listening to memo after memo, plans to travel, private jokes at my expense, discussions about selling the house before he figures it out. Each laugh tore another seam inside my chest. When I finally drove home, I wasn't thinking clearly. I was thinking about survival, about self-respect, about how to reclaim even a sliver of dignity without turning vindictive, because vindictive stories don't monetize well, and honestly, I'm not built for revenge. Instead, I made a call of my own. Callahan Brooks's receptionist answered. I gave a fake name, asked for 5 minutes of his time about a confidential HR matter, something better handled off the record. She scheduled me for tomorrow morning, 8:15 sharp. As I hung up, I realized my palms were slick with sweat, yet for the first time in weeks my heartbeat felt purposeful. Not rage, not despair, momentum. Lorna was waiting in the living room when I stepped inside, scrolling her main phone. She glanced up, asked if the tires were fine. I said yes. She smiled politely, already drifting back into her screen. Neither of us mentioned the overnight envelope or the growing silence between our words. But tomorrow at 8:15, Callahan would see those photographs. And depending on what he said, I'd finally know whether my marriage was dying alone or taking someone else's down with it. Because if I'm going to lose everything, I'm not going quietly. I got there 10 minutes early. I hadn't worn a collared shirt in months, but I ironed one that morning, light blue, too tight around the neck, the kind of thing I used to wear when Lorna still noticed if I tried. I told myself it wasn't about impressing Callahan, but it was, maybe I just wanted to feel like someone worth listening to for once. Someone real. The receptionist gave me a quick nod, typed something, and motioned toward the end of the hallway. He's expecting you, she said without even looking up. The hallway was lined with framed photos of fundraisers, company barbecues, employee spotlights. One of them included Lorna, standing next to Callahan, smiling too brightly, hand resting slightly too close to his elbow. I stared at it too long, until I heard the click of a door opening ahead of me. Mr. Chapman, he asked. Voice calm, polished, professional. I nodded and followed him inside. His office was bigger than our living room. Leather chairs, a glass decanter of amber-colored something sat untouched on the side table. But what struck me the most was the faint scent in the air, warm vanilla and white amber. Her perfume, the one I bought her for our 5th anniversary. She never wore it anymore, not for me, anyway. Callahan gestured for me to sit. I did. He remained standing, arms crossed, watching me like a man who already knew the ending. I assume you're not here for a resume review, he said. I didn't respond immediately. I reached into my coat, pulled out the envelope, the one I'd resealed with a fresh strip of tape, and laid it on the table between us. He didn't touch it. He didn't need to. I received this, I said, delivered to my home. No note, no context, but I'm guessing it wasn't meant for me. Callahan finally sat, steepling his fingers. No, he said after a pause. It wasn't. So it's yours? I asked, though we both knew it was. He looked at the envelope like it was radioactive. A private investigator I hired made those. I thought my wife was cheating. Turns out, it was someone else's. Mine, I said. It wasn't a question. He didn't apologize. Just nodded, slow and deliberate. I tried to stop it. When I found out, told her to cut it off. Threatened her job. She called my bluff. Because you didn't want the scandal, I guessed. Because I didn't want to be humiliated, he corrected. And now here we are. I don't know what I expected. Some kind of guilt, some indignation, even anger. But he just sat there like it was Tuesday, and we were discussing golf scores. I swallowed hard. Is it still going on? He gave me the same flat look Lorna gave when she wanted me to shut up without saying it. She's smart enough to avoid the office now. But yeah, I assume it is. I stared at the photos again, his framed family smiling on the shelf behind him. Do they know? He didn't answer, which was an answer. I need to ask you something, I said. Was it him? Callahan raised an eyebrow. The man from the voicemail, I continued. The one who left her that message. Was that you? He blinked. Then something shifted. His expression hardened, just slightly. No, that's not my voice. The room seemed to spin. So there's someone else. I bet money on it, he said. She's not the type to stop at one. That hit me harder than anything else. Because as much as I hated what I already knew, I still clung to the idea that it was one person, one betrayal, one wound, not a pattern, not a lifestyle, not a game. I nodded slowly, collecting myself. I'm not here to blackmail you, I said. I just needed to know. He gave a small, almost imperceptible shrug. Doesn't matter either way. If that envelope leaks, we both drown. There was a long silence. Then I stood. I won't be the one who opens it. I turned to leave, but his voice stopped me. Mr. Chapman, for what it's worth. I think she picked the wrong man. I turned back, confused. You're not as spineless as she thinks, he said. That voicemail, the recording, holding on to it for weeks, that's the kind of quiet patience people underestimate. I didn't say anything. I didn't smile. I didn't agree. But I left with something new. Not confidence, not clarity, just a bitter, slow-burning anger that no longer made me feel small. By the time I got home, Lorna was in the kitchen again. She was on speakerphone with someone, I didn't catch the name, talking about a weekend trip to get some air. She saw me enter and ended the call, too casually. You okay? She asked. You look weird. Just a long day, I muttered. Then I opened the fridge and saw it. A bottle of white wine she only ever bought when someone was coming over. She never drank alone. She didn't even like wine. She said it gave her headaches. But there it was. Open. Half empty. One glass in the sink. 2 wet circles on the counter. Someone had already been here. She wasn't even trying to hide it anymore. And still, I didn't confront her. I went upstairs. I lay on the bed. I stared at the ceiling. Because something in me had shifted. The man she thought I was, the man who cried quietly and folded laundry while his world collapsed, was still here. But something darker had moved in beside him. And it was just beginning to wake up. That night, I didn't eat dinner. Lorna reheated leftovers she didn't make, poured herself another glass of the same wine I'd seen on the counter earlier, the one she claimed gave her migraines, and sat on the couch like nothing was unraveling. I watched from the hallway for a while, not saying a word. She didn't notice me. When I finally walked in, she looked up. You okay? She asked, but she wasn't really asking. It was a formality, like asking your coworker how their weekend was while walking past their cubicle. Just noise. I nodded, walked past her, and went to the office, not to work, but to think. And when I say think, I don't mean brainstorm or process or journal. I mean, I stared at the dark screen for hours and imagined how much worse it could get. Not because I'm a pessimist, but because every time I'd assumed we'd hit bottom, Lorna proved there were more floors beneath us. That's when I remembered the burner phone. I hadn't touched it since the garage. I'd been afraid of what else I might find, afraid of breaking myself open further. But that night, something changed. I didn't want answers anymore. I wanted control. I powered it up. No new messages. No missed calls. Just the familiar wallpaper she hadn't changed. A photo of a beach. Not one we'd ever been to, probably a stock image. Something fake. Like everything else. I opened the text thread labeled H. Still there. Still ongoing. The last message from him had come in 3 days ago. Sunday again? Usual time. I booked ahead. Don't be late this time. My thumb hovered over the reply field. And then I did something I never thought I'd do. I typed, "Can't. I think he suspects." I hit send. And I waited. It didn't take long. He replied in under a minute. What did he say? I stared at the screen. I wanted to scream. I wanted to call him, meet him, see what this arrogant coward looked like in person. But I didn't. Because a new part of me, a colder part, was steering now. So I replied again. Nothing yet. But he's been quiet. Too quiet. He's not asking anything, just watching. Another pause. Then, don't panic. You're overthinking. He's too soft to do anything. But let's skip this week, just in case. That line. He's too soft to do anything. It echoed in my chest like a punch that hadn't landed yet. I powered the phone off and stared at my own reflection in the office window. I didn't recognize the man looking back. He looked older, heavier, sadder, but also sharper. I wasn't done. I opened my laptop and logged into a dummy email I'd created years ago to test newsletter designs for clients. It had no history, no contacts, no connections, and I began typing an anonymous message. To Callahan, no blackmail, no threats, just a quiet promise. You missed one. There's a second man. Thought you'd want to know. I can prove it. No signature, no attachments. Just that. I scheduled it for delivery 3 days from now. Enough time for Lorna's next lie to walk through the front door, and enough time for me to see whether Callahan, the only other person with something to lose, would take the bait. I closed the laptop. Then I returned to the living room. She was half asleep, blanket over her knees, phone still in hand. She didn't even look up when I sat beside her. I stared at the TV, pretending to watch, pretending I didn't know everything, pretending I hadn't just spoken to her secret lover as if I were her, pretending I wasn't becoming the very ghost she created. Then she mumbled something. You're being nice lately. I nodded slowly, trying. She reached out and squeezed my knee like that would fix the crater between us. Like that erased hotel rooms and voicemail secrets and lipstick jokes whispered to other men. But I let her think it worked, because she had no idea the next time her phone vibrated, it might not be him. It might be me, and she wouldn't know the difference. Not yet. 2 days passed, and I said nothing. Not about the burner phone. Not about the wine. Not about the messages I sent as her. I cooked dinner, took out the trash, even picked up her dry cleaning, and all the while, I watched her like a scientist observes a dangerous animal in a cage. She smiled more than usual, kissed me on the cheek one morning like she remembered I existed. It was all pretend, but I played along. And then Friday came, the day she was supposed to meet him, the man she didn't know I had already spoken to, the man who thought I was too soft to do anything, the man who had no idea he'd canceled his own affair because of a message I wrote using her name. That morning, I made coffee like always. She walked into the kitchen in leggings and a loose hoodie, her casual running errands disguise. I knew the outfit well. She wore it every time she left to grab groceries, but came back with nothing new in the bags except breath mints and excuses. I poured 2 cups. She grabbed hers and leaned against the counter. So, I'm heading out for a bit. I didn't say anything, just raised my eyebrows. She hesitated. Probably just some errands. I might stop by Zoe's to help her with a furniture delivery. She's completely useless with anything over 10 pounds. I nodded slowly. Tell her I said hi. She blinked. Not because I said anything strange, but because I didn't ask questions. I always did. Where are you going? Who's going to be there? Do you want me to come? Not this time. And I could see it threw her off. She sipped her coffee, glanced at her phone, then back at me. You okay? Yeah, I said. Why? You're just, I don't know, different. I guess I'm tired of being suspicious, I said quietly. I trust you. That made her flinch. Trust. It's a poison word when someone's hiding something. It sticks in the throat. And as she forced a half smile, I knew she was calculating how long she had before I figured it all out, not realizing I already had. She left 20 minutes later. Didn't kiss me goodbye. Just called out, "Text you later," and shut the door. I didn't follow her. I didn't need to, because I already knew where she was not going. She'd find out soon enough that H wasn't showing up. Because H had canceled. Because I'd canceled him. And I was about to make sure she felt the weight of that silence. While she was out pretending to help Zoe move a dresser, I walked into our bedroom, opened her nightstand drawer, pulled out the little black notebook I wasn't supposed to know about. She kept it hidden beneath an old box of jewelry she never wore. Mostly gifts from me she claimed were too delicate for everyday use. Inside the notebook, to-do lists, meal prep notes, grocery items, and between them, coded initials, addresses, dates. Every page was a thread she thought she'd cut clean, but I saw the pattern now. One entry stood out. Sunday, H confirmed. 7 p.m. Take separate Uber. Sunday, the same night as the canceled hotel meeting. Still written as if it were happening. She hadn't told him it was off. Or maybe she didn't get the chance. Or maybe she was planning to meet someone else. I flipped to the next page and found something worse. See, birthday gift, pick up after work. Callahan. Still him? I didn't know what was worse, that she was with two men, or that she couldn't keep the lies straight anymore. Maybe neither of them knew about the other. Maybe that was the game. I put the notebook back exactly where I found it, and I waited. She came home 2 hours later, walked in carrying a random bag of frozen vegetables and a receipt from a gas station she never uses, a planted alibi, if I ever saw one. She dropped the bag on the counter and let out an exaggerated sigh. Zoe says hi. She almost dropped the bookshelf on her foot. I told her she needs to stop pretending she's invincible. I nodded. Glad you could help. She smiled like she'd just gotten away with a crime, like she was proud of herself for weaving another flawless story. That night, while she was brushing her teeth, her phone buzzed on the dresser. I watched her eyes flick to it in the mirror. She didn't reach for it, didn't acknowledge it, but her shoulders tensed just enough to tell me everything. When she fell asleep, I checked it. It was from a new contact. Just one letter, D. Can't wait to finally have you to myself again. Call me if anything changes. So now there was a third. I sat at the edge of the bed with her phone in one hand, my heart thudding like it was trying to fight its way out. I felt hollow, smaller than ever, but not powerless, because I finally understood the truth. She wasn't just lying to me. She was lying to them, too, spinning a dozen plates, whispering the same promises with different names. And I was the one man standing still in a house full of ghosts. But I wasn't going to scream. I wasn't going to throw things. I wasn't going to beg her to stop. I was going to let her keep talking. And when she finally told one more lie to the wrong man at the wrong time, I'd make sure the silence that followed was deafening. I spent all of Saturday preparing without lifting a finger. That's the trick with people like Lorna. They don't notice quiet. They underestimate it. Silence is just background noise to them. And by the time they realize it's the storm, it's already over. She spent most of the morning in the guest room, which had quietly become her private call zone. She claimed the lighting in there was better for video meetings, but I knew it was where she went to FaceTime men she never planned to introduce. I heard her fake laugh a few times, muffled through the door. I didn't need to press my ear against it to guess who was on the other side. By the time she emerged, hair tied back, cheeks slightly flushed, she looked like someone who was proud of being desired. She walked past me humming. She didn't ask what I was doing. I was glad she didn't, because I was writing something. I had typed up a single letter. Just a plain Word document with no dramatic language, no accusations, no yelling. At the top, to whom it may concern. Then just one paragraph. You don't know me, but I think you should. I believe we're both involved with the same woman. She's been lying to both of us. I have proof. If you want to talk, I'll be at the Oak Ridge Coffee House on Sunday at 7 p.m. Sit down if you recognize her photo. If not, finish your drink and leave. No confrontación. No threats. Just truth. I printed 2 copies, and under each, I stapled a photo. One of Lorna's. Clear, recent, undeniable, from that set left in my mailbox by Callahan's investigator. She was standing outside the hotel, hand on someone's chest, laughing like it was the best night of her life. One envelope was marked to D, the newest player. The other to H, the man I'd been pretending to be for days. I didn't include Callahan. He already knew what she was. I dropped the letters in two separate mailboxes on opposite sides of town. No return address. No fingerprints. No drama. Just truth. And then I waited. Sunday came. She dressed with care, but casual enough to feign innocence. Hair curled slightly, just enough perfume to pretend she hadn't planned it. She kept checking her phone all morning, which she usually avoided when I was around. I knew what she was waiting for, confirmation from one of them, but they were silent now. My silence. At 5:30 p.m., she walked into the kitchen and said, "I'm going out for a bit." I didn't ask where. I didn't need to. Instead, I looked up from the couch and said, "Can you grab more coffee beans while you're out? We're low." She blinked. Sure. She left the house at 5:42. At 6:15, I was already parked 2 blocks away from the Oakbridge Coffee House. I didn't want to be seen. I just wanted to know who showed up. At 6:56, a silver Audi pulled into the lot. A tall man stepped out. Mid-40s, salt and pepper hair, dark coat. He walked in. Ush. At 7:03, another car. Reed Sedan. Younger guy. Slim build. Nervous hands. D. My heart pounded. At 7:05, she arrived. She didn't see me. I was behind tinted glass and tucked into the shadows, but I saw everything. She walked inside smiling, scanning the room. She froze when she saw them. Both of them. Sitting at 2 different tables, holding the same photo. I will never forget her face in that moment. She didn't look shocked. She looked cornered, like someone had pulled the walls closer around her and left no doors. D looked up first, confused. H stood up slowly, furious but calm. She turned on her heel and bolted out of the cafe. I followed her car from a distance, just far enough to watch her drive aimlessly for 30 minutes before pulling into an empty parking lot and sitting with the engine running. She didn't cry. She didn't scream. She just sat there, quiet, like I'd stolen something from her and left her hollow. When she finally came home at 9:14 p.m., I was in bed pretending to sleep. She walked in slowly, hovered at the door for a moment like she was deciding whether or not to speak. Then she turned around and walked back out. I waited until I heard the soft creak of the guest room door closing behind her. The next morning, she made coffee. She didn't mention the cafe, didn't ask if I knew, but her phone didn't buzz once during breakfast. Her hands were shaking as she held her cup, and I knew she was waiting for me to ask something, waiting to explain before I said anything. But I didn't, because now she was the one living in fear of silence. And I wasn't done yet. The silence between us stretched for days. She tiptoed around me, cautious but not apologetic. I think she was hoping I'd break first, that I'd confront her, shout, demand answers, give her something to react to. But I didn't. I smiled politely. I went for walks. I made omelets. I cleaned the gutters. And I said nothing. What she didn't realize was I wasn't waiting anymore. I was done watching her, done decoding her glances, done standing in the ruins of a marriage she'd walked away from long before I did. The night everything changed wasn't dramatic. No big speech. No paksutkasis. No stormy arguments. It was quiet and gentle. I walked into the guest room where she'd been sleeping. She was sitting on the edge of the bed, fully dressed, staring at her phone with empty eyes. The same woman who used to light up a room now looked like someone who had lost all her scripts. I sat down beside her, just far enough not to touch. "I know," I said softly. She didn't respond right away, just exhaled slowly, like she'd been holding her breath for a year. I figured she whispered. I nodded. "I don't hate you." Her eyes filled with tears. "Why not? I spent so long hating myself. It didn't leave much room." She started to cry then, and for once, it wasn't performance. It wasn't to manipulate or distract. It was raw, small, quiet. "I didn't want to ruin everything," she said. "You didn't ruin everything," I replied, standing up. "Just us." And that was the most peaceful truth I've ever spoken. I didn't threaten her. I didn't guilt her. I didn't list the names or read the texts or hold up the photos. I just picked up my overnight bag, the same one I used for old work trips, and walked to the front door. "Where are you going?" she asked, not panicked, just hollow. somewhere I don't feel invisible. And I left. No dramatic exit. No slam doors. Just one final goodbye to a version of myself I couldn't carry anymore. It's been 6 months. I live in a small apartment above a bookstore now. It's not fancy, but it smells like old paper and fresh coffee. The owner lets me design flyers in exchange for free muffins. I adopted another dog, a grumpy mutt named Crosby who snores louder than I do. Snickerdoodle's with me too. Still loyal. Still watching. Lorna and I never went to court. We sat across from each other at a quiet cafe. No lies, no games, and signed the papers like two people who were finally ready to stop pretending. She's not with any of them now. Not D, not H, not Callahan. I don't think she ever really wanted them. I think she just wanted to feel seen, and so did I. But now I see myself, and I like who's looking back. That's my story. Not of revenge, not of violence, but of reclaiming something I forgot I was allowed to have. Peace. And that's worth more than anything she ever took from me.